Hello and welcome to the Writecome.com podcast, where we help you to make money from your words. Each episode will be sharing tips, tricks, and strategies you can use to make more money from your writing, publishing, and marketing to your fans and audience. Let's get started with your host, Barry J. McDonald.
Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's podcast episode from Writecome.com. And today's podcast episode is entitled, Everyone Wants the Gym or the Swimming Pool. Now, that is not going to make a notion of sense to you, so I'll explain. Recently, I was listening to an old podcast interview with Randy Gage. I don't remember what podcast it was on, but he's been interviewed on this podcast anyway, and it came up to the topic of where he lived. He lives in Miami, and he was just explaining about the building he lives in. He is someone who goes to the gym regularly, so the building that he lives in has a gym downstairs, and he's in it on a daily basis, sometimes twice a day, working out and keeping himself in shape. But he said he always laughs when somebody is, maybe a real estate person is going around the building and they have a potential buyer. So they're leading them around the building and they're showing them all the different facilities. And they usually would take them down to the gym and walk them around and point out, all the benefits of having the gym and everything in the building as a selling point. Now, as Randy says, it's as funny sometimes when you watch the real estate person come in and take the person into the gym, because the person that they're taking into the gym is probably the last person you will find in a gym. There's no way this person is ever going to exercise, but you'll probably see them nodding their head along with the real estate agent saying, that's a really good idea having this gym here and everything, and I probably will use it in the future. But you know yourself that most people will never go to a gym. They'll run in the opposite direction to it. But this real estate person was using this gym as a potential selling point to sell an apartment or condominium or whatever they were trying to sell. So it was used as a benefit. Now, I'm sure if faced with living in two buildings, I'm sure when it came to making a buying decision, if the locations and everything were perfect in both places, you'd probably go with the one that had the gym or had the swimming pool or whatever, because they were extra facilities that you could probably use in the future. But again, as I said, majority of people will probably never use the gym or will probably never use a swimming pool. And again, too, even people make those choices when they go maybe on a weekend break or whatever, when they're going through brochures or they're looking at some comparison site and they're looking at hotels or whatever. A lot of them will look and say, oh, there's a gym in this hotel, or there's a swimming pool in this, or in the leisure centre, or the massage parlour or whatever. But there's all these facilities in it, and sometimes that sways people's, buying decision, whether they should go at one hotel that has no swimming pool or the one that has a swimming pool. A lot of people will probably go for the one that has a swimming pool or has the extra facilities, even though they'll probably never use them. Now, why am I talking about swimming pools and gyms and buying real estate? Well, recently I bought a product by the great Tony Shepard. Now, Tony is one of these people who, when they release a product, it is usually one of the ones that I usually slap myself on the side of the head and say, well, why didn't I think of that? Or that was so, blindly obvious. Why had nobody ever thought of this before? And Tony has a great knack of coming out with products like that nobody really thinks about. Now, one of the things that Tony came out, he put a little bit of a spin on one of the products he was selling, in that he was selling a report of his. It was on, I think it was in content creation, or how to come up with ideas for daily content, maybe for emails or blog posts, whatever. But in this report, he was going to show you all the different places he goes around to find ideas, find pieces of content, find weird stories, and all different things he can work into his marketing messages or his emails or his blog posts, whatever. And he was going to show you in this report how you would find all that stuff. Now, while you could buy that report at whatever price Tony was selling at it, Tony had an upgrade that you could pay a little bit more for. And what he would do was, for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever, he would throw in a little bit of coaching with it. So for maybe whatever particular price the report was at, you could buy the bog standard report, and you could probably go ahead and use all the places that he had mentioned and find content that you could use for your own stuff. But for a lot of people, they would probably go for the upgrade. Now, again, whether people would use that, I think it's like the same notion of the swimming pool or the gym. Some people like maybe to have the notion that they have this little bit of a hand holding if they do need it, but maybe they might find that when they went through the port, they had enough content they could work on. They didn't need the extra help. But what Tony was doing in those 2 or 3 weeks as the additional upsell for his product was that you could contact him within those 2 or 3 weeks. You could send an email and you could say, well, Tony, maybe this this doesn't match up to my particular business, or how can I alter whatever content I'm finding, how can I tailor it to what I'm trying to do. So what he was going to do is he was going to leave you, 2 or 3 weeks to use his knowledge, use his expertise, or some way that you could spin whatever content was in the report and make it unique to you so that you could use it. Because I find sometimes when I do sell products to people, maybe a report or whatever, or even in my own case, sometimes I buy a report and I would go through it and I would say to myself, that's a really, really great way of doing this or doing that. But then I can't actually find a way of how can I slot it into my business without it being a distraction. Or maybe I just don't know how all the steps, even though they have been laid out, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Sometimes I might come away and I say, well, I'd love to know what he's doing between step 2 and step 3. Is there a kind of step 2.5 that I need to know about? Or maybe if he explained the steps between 2 and 3, I would know this a little bit better. So that's what Tony was doing in that report, was he was making those reports. But what he was doing is he was upgrading it and he was turning it into a workshop. Again, this was the same content he had sold before. It was simply a PDF document, but he was changing it, he was renaming it, and because he was renaming it as a workshop, he could charge a far dearer price because he was giving himself given the 2 or 3 weeks of additional coaching or whatever to go with that report to help that person out to make the report unique, or how they could work with it in their own way if they had any difficulties. Because as I said, sometimes you do buy content and sometimes you don't know how to rework it yourself or how to work with it, or maybe there is some steps that you just like somebody maybe to clarify on before you actually start working on it. So that could be something you could tailor into your business. If you are somebody who does have digital products, maybe you are selling PDF documents on how to like sometimes I do, like how to come up with email ideas or how to automate social media and things like that. I could sell that PDF as it is and all the steps are laid out and somebody would know exactly how to do it. But an easy way for me to make more money out of that report, and an easy way for me to be more helpful to my customers, and take the same product and basically just reuse it, repurpose it, and actually make more money out of it, is to turn it into a workshop. So give that some thought if you are selling some digital products. Again, as I said, sometimes people do look for the swim pools and the gyms. They mightn't actually maybe make use of them, but sometimes knowing the fact that those are there that they can fall back on if they need to go for a swim on the holiday break or whatever, that they're there for them. And sometimes you will find maybe people might buy the PDF document and they may upgrade to the workshop. They might never ever need to reach out to you to answer any questions or to help them in any way. It could be just like a little bit of a comfort blanket that they know that that is there, that if they do get stuck over the next 2 or 3 weeks after they've bought that report, that they can reach out to you and then you can help them in any way to get more use out of that content. So that is one way. As I said, Tony Shepard, he's a great man for coming up with unique ideas that sometimes you slap yourself on the side of the head and you say, why didn't I think of that before? So if you do have any digital content at all, if maybe you're looking to maybe charge more for your content, if you are looking to help your buyers or your customers more and get paid better for doing it, have a look at that idea Tony come up with, the workshops. Is there some way you can add additional coaching on to whatever it is you're selling? And is there any way you can, sometimes, as I said, sometimes people mightn't even use it, so you mightn't even need to put in those hours of coaching, but you can make more money by using and repurposing the same content again. So as always, I hope I've helped somebody today. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can send an email to barryjmcdonald@gmail.com, or if you'd like to find out more what I do, what products I sell over on the Writecom site, if you want to hop on over to Writecom, that's WRITECOME.com. And as always, thanks for sharing your time again today. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like more from the Writecom.com podcast, be sure to subscribe now for more tips, tricks, and ideas you can use to make more money from your words. See you in the next episode.